It was so good in India. What happened? And 2 days it went like that. And but I continue with that. I know that these things.
They continued.
I continue with meditation. Just it came when I just sit silently. I sit for contemplating, and I just do simple that. Just go put attention to the self.
Everything will just settle down. It's natural for the mind to come up like that, you know.
Something like first time for me it was like miraculous, but after 2 days, like I was still continuing, and then after 2 days, first time I saw that this attention just goes back and it's normal. It just stayed like that. 2 days.
It's good for us because our mind cannot stay underneath too long. It has to come to the surface. That's because of your own sadhana, your own satsang. It has to keep coming up back to the surface. So it can feel a bit like that, but at least it's more visible than hidden. So they come up like that, and then they just dissipate. It just goes away, dissipate.
But do you say that you go on practicing and attention can just stay, it just comes.
Even more than that, I say even you are there before attention even. Because you can watch where the attention is going. So if you can see that you can watch even attention, you must really try and understand where are you to watch attention. You're already the place. You know, the attention can only come to you, or it can go out towards phenomenon. But really, when attention is here, it just returns to you. It's not you. Very often we identify with attention. But attention is also capable of observing, you know. Sometimes people can say, my attention is very restless today, and you know I can't control my attention. It's going all over the place. I say, don't worry, you're here. You're not going all over the place. The attention is going. If you pay attention to yourself, which is really here, just acknowledge that you're already here. Even, you know, that's the most natural attention, to acknowledge that. But you're already here. You cannot be the attention running about. If you identify with that, then you'll feel restless. You take on the quality of restless attention. But if you stay in the place where it is weakness that the attention is going, don't worry about that. You know, just be with the stillness that is yourself, you know. And that is so powerful, because it doesn't mean you have to go. If you are just with yourself, attention has to come back to you, because it cannot live without you. It's like a parasite cannot live without the thing it's living on. So in a sense, you know, all these forces have to come to you. If you acknowledge yourself, know what you are, as just a pure awareness, the formless awareness, somehow resting in itself, all your powers like attention, the body, belief, identity, all these, they have to come back to it. They come back and they become quiet. Very naturally, I think. But sometimes there is some storm in the mind, the body-mind, and it's going to move like that. And the way through that is leave it. Like Sri Maharaj say, I leave my human nature to play out its role. I remain as I am, as pure consciousness. So that's a very clear scene. He sees that human nature is behaving sometimes, you know, very irritable, sometimes this and that. He doesn't identify with that. He said somehow something is causing that to be. Maybe past life, maybe old behavior. But I'm not concerned with that now. I'm not identified with that state anymore. I don't call that state me. I just continue just resting inside my own awareness. So if he's resting in his own awareness, that human side that's running around can't do that for much longer, because it needs attention. If nobody's looking at it, you see, the mind can only perform if it has an audience. If there's no one to give it attention, it doesn't exist, you know. And the attention comes from you. And even attention comes from you. So you're not even the attention. You see. Observe these few points when really caught and remembered, because that's what happens is we tend to forget where we really are. Where you really are is the self. That's not moving. When you remember that, things like attention, going in the mind, behaving don't mean nothing very much. You see that they're just phenomenon, soon forgotten, soon pass, you know, just like any cloud, and they keep changing. Nobody has to force them. So it's all good. Now, even when people talk about these things, you know, they feel like, oh, I'm not doing so well at the moment, because stop that. That's not true. You know, don't judge yourself with your thoughts, you know. You're not your thoughts, you know. But when they come, if you hold on to them, you create a relationship and an identity with them. And of course, you're going to feel, oh, I'm not doing very well, because no thought is doing particularly well, you know. They keep changing. Even nice ones, after a while, it goes into some silly place or something. So it's good to be aware of thought, make use of them also, but keep your royal distance from them. You know, don't identify. Yourself is not a thought. That is 100% sure. But our self-belief, maybe is a thought construct is there. So this difference we have to just keep recognizing until the whole thing looks very silly after a while. Just have to keep watching it and seeing that it's there's the one thing you have to overcome and to transcend in life, and that is your mind attachment, the belief in the mind. It's only that to be overcome. The identity that is created in the mind and the mind play. You have to understand that's your ship, that's your house. You have to understand how that mind works and that without identity it doesn't have any power. Once you understand that and you see that you're neither of those two, you are the witness of them, already the whole thing cannot hold. And you find again yourself. And it's like one thing more and more, you know? Yeah. This is all now. Over the years of wrestling so much with different ideas about myself and so, it became very simple. Oh, but that's nonsense. It's not true. My thoughts are not me. But my thoughts make me feel like I am them. If I believe in them, I start to feel, oh, you know, I'm having a bad day today, and so on, so on. So a thought cannot have a bad day. It's just the believer in the thought can have a bad day. But the believer in a thought is also kind of thought, you know. The believer in the thought, the one who says, oh, I can't get out of this state, please help me, that one is also a thought, you know. The most dangerous thought, actually, because nobody suspects it is a thought. We all think it is us. And because we think it is us, our life becomes very unstable and unsteady, because even that identity is not steady. The only steady thing is the self, which is what we really are. And that's all that satsang is here to really point out and to get everyone to see and to acknowledge. And it takes time, because we've been a bit a stranger to ourselves for a very long time, being in the role of personhood and identity and so on. We've been on the road for a very long time, wearing out body after body, carrying this strong identification. So I put it that this life is the life to finish up that delusion, you know. Really is, and it's a wonderful feeling. And you're well on your way, well in the way, well
On the way.
well on the way, well on the way.
Thanks to you, brother.
Well, we feel very happy to see you today. It's coming up.
Just
We saw somebody else down there, didn't know who it is, and then I come and I said, that's my mama.
Just
Yeah.
come here and see what it's like.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love you so much, Baba. So nice to see you back and talk to you soon, huh? Yeah. Love you.
I love you.